again, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Matt for the Remnant Forum. A few months ago, here in St. Paul, the president of a Catholic university delivered an address and received a standing ovation, and this address included the following, quote, "The planning and climate surveys reflected concern about a welcoming and supportive attitude to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender persons in our community. It pains me to think that a gay student, staff, or faculty member would ever feel unwelcome or a need to hide at St. Thomas. As Pope Francis reminds us, we are not called to judge. We are called to love and support everyone in our community, regardless of their sexual orientation, and, I might add, regardless of the gender of their spouse." End quote. Standing ovation for the president, Julie Sullivan of St. Thomas University. Say what you will about this statement, what's absolutely incontrovertible and undeniable to everyone and anyone on all sides of the question is that this represents a massive defect or defection from Catholic moral theology. Homosexuality sodomy used to be considered by the Catholic Church, still is on the books considered by the Catholic Church to be one of the 4 sins that cry to heaven for vengeance. That clearly is no longer the case as far as Ms. Julie Sullivan is concerned at St. Thomas University, a Catholic university where my father graduated, the same university that I attended myself. This was a very venerable Catholic university. And this is going on throughout the whole country now, where the fact is the Catholic identity has disappeared from Catholic campuses. Hearkening back to the old Arian heresy, they have our buildings, we have kept the faith. This truly and literally is the case in St. Thomas and Notre Dame and Holy Cross and George, all around the country. Catholic schools are simply no longer Catholic. Now that's the bad news. The good news is that because of this, Catholic families all around the country have had enough, and they're no longer going to contribute their hard-earned dollars to the support of this sort of thing going on under the name of the Catholic Church. And so we're seeing many, many small schools now, not only grade schools and high schools, but now colleges as well, and universities springing up around the world, especially in the United States, places like Christendom College or Steubenville or Wyoming Catholic College, Ave Maria College, and the newest one, I believe, well, maybe not quite the newest one, we'll find out about that in a moment, FisherMore College, which has simply changed its name, but it's been around for a long time. We are very pleased to welcome the president of FisherMore College to the program today. Mr. Michael King is doing great work trying to establish FisherMore as one of the premier Catholic, not only Catholic, but tradition-minded Catholic colleges in the United States today. We're very thrilled to welcome Mr. King and to ask him a few questions about this important apostolate down in Dallas, Texas. Tell us just something about yourself to begin with, where you come from before we get into the college itself.
I'm what people call a cradle Catholic. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Went to Catholic schools all through college. I attended Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas, where I found myself back in the year 2000 teaching on the faculty in the business school there. So I was there for a little bit over 10 years and came to Fort Worth, Texas, to what was then called College of St. Thomas More. Today, 2 years ago, we changed the name, or we added St. John Fisher as a patron, so we're now the College of St. John Fisher and Thomas More, which is shortened by most people to simply FisherMore College. But I'm beginning my 4th year here at FisherMore College. So.
Oh, that's great. What do you think, before I grill you a little bit more on your college, what do you think of the state of Catholic higher education in general, especially in the United States right now?
Well, I think it's fair to say the way you just described it, Michael. It's a mixture of good and bad. There is some good news, and you articulated that very well. And there's quite a bit of bad news as well. I think it's also, I believe, it's fair to assess Catholic higher education on 2 different levels. One would be on the what we call the education part, or the formative part, the part in which the formation of the young people takes place. The other area we could assess would be on the economic part. And the economics of higher education, I think, are in real serious trouble. But the the education part and the formative part first, you made very good statements to open the show. I think there is some good news. There are definitely they're all mostly small, Catholic colleges. They are led by good men. Many of them, I have the pleasure of meeting with them several times a year, and I can tell you that these schools are faithful to returning to Catholic education the way the Church has always taught. So now, on the other hand, of course, the situation that we hear about that you quoted from. It seems like with some of the big universities, the situation keeps on getting worse. It's hard to imagine it could deteriorate even more than it already has, but it creates this sort of interesting dichotomy. There's an ever-growing gap, you might say, between the schools that are really committed to a Catholic college life for its students, and those that are seemingly getting worse. So now on the economic front, this is mostly bad, I think, as well. This is a much more difficult problem. I don't think there's any easy way out of the problem we see in the economics of higher education right now, because most small schools are almost entirely dependent on credit, on student loans or state subsidies of some sort. This, as I said, is a difficult problem. We're trying to avoid this here at FisherMore from the beginning, not to even get involved in it. But it's like the economy as a whole, in which the creation of credit, the creation of debt, is such an instrumental part of the way the economy works. It certainly is an integral part of the way Catholic higher education works, higher education in general. And I think that's a bad thing. But
it's interesting. So you have on the one hand what I would consider a very scandalous situation, and everyone's aware of that. You know, President Barack Obama being invited to Notre Dame not once but twice to speak, and so the loss of Catholic identity is in the news all the time on college campuses that affiliate with the Catholic Church, but also the cost of getting a degree from these Catholic institutions just continues to go up and up and up. So it's sort of a lose-lose situation for the Catholic student these days trying to get that degree.
Yeah, you used a word that I've often used. I've been talking about this for about 10 years, the word scandal. I think many years down the road when the books are written about what's happened to education in general, but particularly Catholic education, I mean, the word scandal might not be too extreme of a word. The fact that the cost of education has become what it has is really troubling, particularly for a church that wants big families, and most of the families that Catholic education is directed towards serving can't afford one child to go to school for $30,000 a year, much less 7 or 8. So where do we go from here? I mean, this is a problem that has occurred over a period of time. It's tied in very intimately with what's happened in the church in general, which is teaching have disappeared. The teaching orders. I mean, Michael, you may have been on the tail end of it. I certainly was. I can remember in my grade school experience when I first started, it was mostly nuns still teaching. By the time I was finished, most of them were gone. When I got to a Christian Brother High School, there were still maybe a little bit less than half the faculty were from the order. By the time I was finished, most of them were gone. That was only 4 years later. So with the disappearance of the teaching orders, the church has lost its ability to deliver education that's affordable. And then the other side of that, of course, is what's happened to the economy in general. And there's a lot of people writing about this right now, but the banking system, the way it is. But our economy is fueled, our government is basically fueled by credit creation. And that filters down throughout the whole economy, and there's no industry that's probably more dependent on credit creation than higher education, unfortunately. So it's a big problem.
You know, you said something that's interesting with respect to the situation for smaller schools. I'm just thinking, it's interesting from a Catholic point. You're talking about the disappearance of the nuns and the priests and so forth, which you're absolutely right. I remember the nuns very well from when I was in grade school. They were there, and That has to have impacted the bottom line for Catholic schools all across the country, because these ladies, who and these wonderful ladies, who the far left loves to mock even to this day, and so forth, but they were donating their lives, they were donating their time and giving their lives to education. They've all disappeared, mostly, for the most part, alas. And now folks that need paychecks are trying to fill those places, the places that the nuns held, and it just isn't working. So from a traditional Catholic, as you know, the Remnant is a tradition-minded Catholic journal of opinion, and I think it's somewhat interesting that so many of these small Catholic schools, such as yourself, such as FisherMore, seem to have a more traditional, even liturgically traditional bent. I know that's the case with Ave Maria and Wyoming Catholic, and even Steubenville now, to some extent. Am I right? Is that how FisherMore sort of is beginning to identify liturgically?
Yes, well, I think most definitely yes. Our liturgical orientation is traditional for sure. We make it very clear in our statements on our website. In fact, we state very clearly we think that fidelity to the traditional Mass and the traditional liturgy is essential to us achieving our mission. It's an essential part of it. It's not just a part of it. It's not just a market that we serve over here while we're serving another market over here. It's the center of the college. So, and also we are trying to get back to the traditional mode of delivering education in a way that's affordable to families. And this is a big challenge. It's not easy to do, and it's not going to be easy to do. But we believe that's every bit as part of the tradition of the church as other things. So.
Yeah, right. Now, tell me just a little bit of history of FisherMore. I'm sure there's not enough time to give it an exhaustive history, but now, for example, it used to be Ave Maria, or it used to be Regina Caeli, correct? Is that?
Well, you're thinking of, and we'll get to that hopefully kindly. Regina Caeli Academy was an online academy that FisherMore College brought into its organization a year ago. We've changed the name to FisherMore Academy, and our college does operate an online academy that covers elementary, junior high, and high school. But the history of the college goes back to 1981. It was founded by some people who moved over from the University of Dallas across the Metroplex here. And during this period of time in the early 80s, when a few new Catholic colleges were springing up, it was the College of Thomas More, College of St. Thomas More.
That's right. Okay. Thomas More. Sure.
And so that was 1981. Over the years, the college achieved accreditation. In 1999, it was developing its early years on a campus that was small, was sitting on 1 acre, basically inside the campus perimeter of a much larger private university in Fort Worth, TCU. And so it was limited in its capacity to handle residential students, which for a Catholic college is a big part of the mission of a Catholic college would be its residential nature. So 2 years ago, we made two what would be considered, I think, significant changes. This would have been in my second year down here. First of all, we added St. John Fisher as a patron, and that was for a couple reasons. One was to avoid confusion with our brothers in New Hampshire at the Thomas More College.
All right.
I was having the pleasure of introducing myself to people in Fort Worth, Texas, as the president of the College of St. Thomas More, and they were congratulating me on working for such a nice school in New Hampshire. And so I figured we had an identity problem that Dr. Fahey and his people out in New Hampshire had done a good job. So we added St. John Fisher as a patron rather than dispense with St. Thomas More altogether. He's a wonderful patron. We thought Providence had delivered us an opportunity to develop a distinct name identity without making a big change. And the second thing we did was really begin to focus the mission of the college on much more on its Catholic identity, its residential Catholic identity. So those changes occurred 2 years ago, and then we moved our campus. We went from where we were, which had a very limited residential capacity of about 20 students, to this beautiful old restored monastery in Fort Worth that was dedicated 100 years ago, built 100 years ago, dedicated to Our Lady of Victory. And it's about 2 miles away from our former campus, and we have a capacity now to handle about 120 students. So things are going well for us.
No, that sounds great. Now, tell me, in conjunction with that, you also have a whole online sort of wing of the college and the high school.
Yes, you mentioned that. This is a real important part. I'm glad you are interested in this because it's a very important part of our overall strategic plan as an organization. The college is the home, and in one sense, college is obviously a very traditional college, both in its liturgy, its orientation, liturgically, and in fact, it's a small residential 4-year college that has a Bachelor of Arts degree. Our curriculum is classical liberal arts curriculum with emphasis on the scholastic tradition and philosophy and theology. But on top of that, we operate as a college this online academy. And there's tremendous opportunities here. You know, the homeschooling movement, as you know, Michael, is, to me, these are the heroes of the attempt to bring back affordable Catholic education, or in many parts of the country, homeschooling mothers. They've replaced the nuns in many respects. And what FisherMore Academy does is offer these families a chance to have, live, interactive, high-quality Catholic instruction and the form, the structure of a school delivered into their home through distance technology. So, and there's also some hybrid opportunities we have. We call them hybrid schools because these are schools that have somewhat of a traditional look to them, and that students arrive every day in a building in a geographic area. But when they go to class, the hybrid part of it is that FisherMore Academy, our teachers are instructing them. So their classrooms are computer labs. And so between the homeschooling families where the students are at home and these hybrid schools, we've seen a real dramatic growth in the enrollment at FisherMore Academy, and we think it's going to continue. So this is a big part of our plan. As I said, I think when people think of FisherMore College, we state this in our material and our promotional letters. It's really a fully integrated education program from 4th grade all the way up through college. And one of the real, I think, exciting parts of what we can offer now is for those high school students that are matriculating through FisherMore Academy, by the time they get to their 12th grade year, their senior year of high school, if they're appropriately qualified, they can enroll. Some of their classes in their senior year of high school are classes in our freshman of college curriculum, because our entire freshman curriculum is also offered online. And so our high school students don't have to worry about AP credits or things like that. They have actual college credits that they can earn in their senior year of high school by taking our college courses online. So it's a great opportunity.
Great. Yeah, nice integrated system. I like that very much. I think I already know the answer to this question, but I just want to hear how you put it, and that is, what is your mission? In other words, obviously it sounds like a young person can go to FisherMore and keep his faith while he gets a degree, which is nice in your Catholic colleges to be able to do that. But I'm guessing that you have a mission that entails a long-term vision of taking the society that we live in back for Christ. Is this correct?
Yes, definitely. Of course, we try to remind ourselves continually that our purpose is to assist the church and assist families in the formation and the education of young people, whether it be young people in the academy or the college students who are entrusted to our care here. Yes, our mission is to assist in the continued formation of them and really toward the purpose for which we are all created, to know, love, and serve God. So we look to the church for what we should be doing, what our purpose is, what our mission should be, and the church has been very clear for 1,000 years on what the purpose of education is. So, in addition, you mentioned we want to make sure that the statement I often use, Michael, is, you might appreciate this as a parent, because sometimes I speak as a parent as well. We don't want to be a place where 18 years of hard work and commitment at home can be undone. in a short period of time with respect to the formation in the faith of these young people. So college should be their knowledge of their faith. It should not be a place where they regress. So we're very keen to fulfilling our duty in that regard as well. I think it's a good place to be for young people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm so glad to hear you mention homeschooling, because that's one of the reasons that we homeschool is, raising children, especially a large family, is not only an expensive venture these days, but it takes a lot of commitment, a lifetime of commitment, and to the very idea of putting your young students, your children into a Catholic school where they lose the faith. This is an unbelievable crisis in the church, and I think that's why it's so important. So tell me, liturgically, who offers the masses, for example? Do you use diocesan priests, or how do you take care of that?
For the last 9 months or so, we've been blessed to have a priest as our chaplain from the priestly fraternity of St. Peter, which I know you're familiar with there in Minneapolis, Michael. And
Sure.
we have the traditional mass every day. It's the mass is literally the source and summit of the college. It's the central point. We begin our day every day with the mass, and sort of the liturgy. The rest of the liturgy that surrounds the mass is a big part of our everyday, as you might say. We do the whole school gathers together, for example, just before lunch, and prays the rosary in our chapel. And this is all very convenient for us because we have a nice big chapel here in our building. So it's very traditional. One of the principles we've adopted is the old Latin phrase lex orandi, lex credendi, lex vivendi, which, as you know, stands for as we pray, so we believe, so we live. And we've added that third part, lex vivendi, as we live, because that's truly our commitment. We pray the traditional Latin Mass. We believe it's essential. The traditional liturgy and the traditions of the church are essential to our mission. We're faithful to the traditions, the teachings of the church, and we live our life that way. So.
That's wonderful. Can you say something about philosophically about the college's position? In other words, is it strictly a Thomist college? Is there an Augustinian element, or how does that go?
Well, I think it would be fair to say that we are Thomists. Anybody, I think, who goes to our website would see we talk about our curriculum being based on the traditional liberal arts, so the classical liberal arts, the humanities, which would cover literature and history, and say, and we make a specific reference to the scholastic tradition in philosophy and theology. It would be safe to say that our philosophy, our orientation, the orientation of our curriculum is Thomistic thoroughly. I think one of the things I believe, and this is shared, I know, by the faculty and the staff here, is that one of the things that we're witnessing in our society today, more than anything, among the many things, the many losses we're witnessing, is a loss of the supernatural, or a loss of an understanding of the transcendental dimension of life. And we think that only St. Thomas's philosophy can orient us back intellectually, can orient us back to that, to an appreciation of that, to bridge the gap between God and man that we see ever widening in society. Our curriculum, if you go on the website and look at it, you will see that it's a sequence of courses designed to follow St. Thomas through philosophy all the way up into the Queen of Sciences, theology. So.
All right, I've been trying real hard to find something over which I can disagree with you. I'm striking out over here. So let me try this. My grandmother used to say that comparisons are odious, but I'm a product of Christendom College, and I still have many friends and a great respect for a lot of what Christendom does. So I want you to tell me why a young Catholic should choose FisherMore over Christendom College, Ave Maria, Steubenville, Wyoming. What say you?
Well, first of all, I would hope that they would choose us for positive reasons rather than negative. I don't think there are any negative reasons necessarily for not choosing those other schools. but for positive reasons. Our students, we tend to get students, and of course we have a full freshman class this year, and we're already filling up applications for next year. The students tend to be oriented liturgically and spiritually towards the same thing that the college is. I mean, our mission is very clear, and so I think if a student is interested and really desires to go to a school where the math is truly the center of the college, center every day. And I know in other schools that's the case. For us, there's no question the math and the faith and the liturgy and all that flows from that is the center. If they want to be in a place where they can quietly grow in their faith, we try to order everything here towards an increase in the prayer life, or what we might call the interior life of the students. And on top of that, to get that rigorous education that prepares them for life beyond college. And the curriculum here is rigorous. It prepares them for the world, prepares them for vocation and career. I think they will be very well prepared for college. We have we call the service program. One of the ways we're able to keep our tuition low is that we enroll all the students in the operation of the college. It's a bit like we call it the seminary model, because that's what it's based on. When the seminarians go, they work in the refectory, the cafeteria, they work in housekeeping, and I shouldn't use the word work because they serve, basically. That also is part of our formation. That builds character, it builds good habits, it builds those virtues of work and work ethic that these students will use when they get out of here. And we fully expect employers to be knocking down the doors to hire our students, regardless of what they studied, because we want them to be well-formed, bright, happy, joyful, faith-filled young men and women who are prepared for the world when they get out of here. So, and prepared to, most importantly, to become husbands and wives and fathers and mothers of their own families.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the Catholic model for us all. It's terrific. So we're just about running out of. Well, actually, we are out of time. But I want to just ask you how we can help. What can we do to help out? Are you looking to raise funds? Are you looking for teachers, resources, anything? What would you say would be the number one way that someone could help you out?
Well, the number one way right now, of course, would be financial support. We do have a good plan. The fundamentals of our long-term plan for sustainability are quite good, even for the purely business-minded person. Obviously, when you add the whole spiritual and Catholic part of it, it becomes real appealing to Catholics. But the business side of the college, the long-term plan, I think, Michael, is very good. We want to make this affordable. And like I said, we're trying to start out by avoiding the debt trap that is plaguing higher education now. But our programs need time to mature. So in these next couple of years, while our programs are growing and maturing, we will rely on the generosity of donors. Those of you who are watching this program, and we really appreciate, Michael, you and the Remnant for this the opportunity to talk like this. Next week we're having what we call a Rogatio Money Blast, which is a great mix of traditional Latin word rogatio, which stands for a prayer or an asking, and a money blast, which is a take on a fundraising technique used by Ron Paul in his presidential campaign. And whether you agree with Ron Paul politically or not, he did have a brilliant way of connecting to people who were his niche, and it was through the internet. So all of next week, if your viewers could be encouraged to visit our website, and they can learn a lot about FisherMore College, and they could have an opportunity, take the opportunity to help us as well with a financial donation that they can make through our website. So we do need the help of Catholics, particular Catholics who, like you, Michael, I appreciate you saying the things you have today. Catholics who want to see a return of traditional colleges like we're trying to build. So.
Well, Mr. King, I can't tell you how much you said that we're helping you out. I mean, just the existence of your college. I know you know this, but I want to reiterate it anyway for our viewers. There's so much bad news in the church and in the world today, and there's a sense that we're pushing an awfully big boulder up the hill, and at any moment we are all going to be crushed. And just the fact that you and your team have not let the spirit of depression or despair or being downhearted get the better of you, and instead are ready to just take this college and take it as far as God will allow you to go. It's really, really a shot in the arm for all of us. I'm so grateful. I've got 7 children. I'm looking your way when we get ready for college here, which is coming up very soon. But thank you so much. God bless you. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us today. And the Remnant, all of our friends are ready to help in any way we can with this great apostolate of yours. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael, for having us on. It's all by God's grace here at this end. I can assure you that. But we love what we're doing, and we love serving God in the church, and we really appreciate being on your show. And we'll save 7 spots for the 7 Matt show coming up.
It's a deal. All right. Thanks very much. God bless you. Keep the faith.